All right. Okay. So since the interview is focused on front end, so I'll ask some theory-based questions in HTML, CSS, and also JavaScript and React. I think you're already familiar with React, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So I'll start with HTML. So can you explain the DOM?
Yes, sir. Actually, the DOM is a visual representation of the attributes. Like it's like a tree. We can divide the tags in a separate manner, which containing what, and it's help to build a page easier and make the changes also easier.
Hi folks, කොහොමද? ඉතින් ඔයත් මේ දවස්වල ඉන්ටර්විව් එකකට කම්බලන් එන කෙනෙක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, ෆ්‍රෙෂ් ග්‍රැජුවේට් කෙනෙක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, එහෙම නැත්නම් එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් තියෙන ඩෙවලොපර් කෙනෙක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ඔයගොල්ලෝ හැමෝටම ගොඩක් ලොකු ඇඩ්වාන්ටේජ් එකක් වෙයි කියලා හිතනවා මේ වීඩියෝ සීරීස් එක. මීට අමතරව ඉන්ටර්විව්ස් වලදී අහන මේන් කන්සෙප්ට්ස් එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරලා මම සිංහලෙන් වෙනම වීඩියෝ සීරීස් එකක් කරගෙන යනවා. ඉතින් ඒකත් බලන්න. ඒ වගේම මොක් ඉන්ටර්විව් එකකට පාර්ටිසිපේට් කරන්න ඕන නම් පල්ලෙහින් කමෙන්ට් එකක් දාන්න. channel එක subscribe කරලා දිගටම සෙට්ලා ඉන්න. Okay. So, have you heard about meta tags in HTML document?
Yes, sir. Actually, the meta types is meta tag is used for the responsive for all the devices, and also it's help to make the SEO search engine optimizations. We can put the keywords that rank our website in the high of our in the web search. So for that, we can use meta tags.
Okay, that's partially correct, but not a complete answer. You have to learn more about the meta tags. Okay.
Yes.
So, can you explain the difference between block level elements and inline elements in HTML?
Yes, the block line elements we can use the div tags to combine some components in one like a container, and the inlines means we use inline CSS for the blocks to likewise we can divide it in that manner using the div tags in the block elements. What inline elements is the separate elements that we can access.
Yeah, kind of true. But in HTML, we have inline elements by default. Do you know about that? Like we have some special tags, inline tags, HTML.
Yeah.
Did you get the chance to work with span tags, image tags?
Yeah, image tags
Yeah,
and
so
that is empty tags.
those are inline elements, tags, right? So you can learn more about that as well. So how can we create a ordered list and unordered list in HTML?
We have to create a list, and within that we have to define it as a OL or a UL.
Correct.
Like this, we can order one numbering elements are used to UL. So sorry, OL, and the bullet points are used to unordered list.
Okay. Yeah. Correct. So, why are we using ALT text, tag attribute for the images?
Because sometimes the network connections are loose, then we can't define that what is the image is. So it's an alternative that we can identify that image is referring to these things.
Okay. So, have you used any empty tags in HTML?
Yes, sir. I have used BR to break the line and HR to make the underline, and also image tag also one of the empty tag.
Okay. So, I'll jump into CSS. So, what are the ways we can add CSS to a HTML document?
Sorry, sir.
Like, how can we add CSS to HTML document?
Yeah, we can create a separate file for CSS, or we can style within the HTML document, and also we can style within inline CSS also.
Okay, so if I have the different styles for the one tag, both in internal and external, so what it takes, like taking from the external file or is it taking from the internal CSS or
Uh,
inline?
I think inline is the most prioritized styling. In the order, next is internal, and next is external.
Correct. Okay. So, how can we catch an HTML element in the like from an external CSS file? So, in that CSS file, how can we catch the HTML elements or
We
tags?
can use the class name and IDs. Then we
Okay.
can access the elements.
Can you come again? Classes and
IDs, ID.
IDs. Okay. So, do you know how to catch the element by ID? Like, what is the syntax?
ID we hash and the name, and for the class for dot and the class name.
Correct. Yeah. So, suppose I have I have a p tag, so I have the ID and the class for the same tag. For the two different things, I'm giving like two different styles, like color red for ID, color green for class. So what it takes,
I think it's ID because it's
correct? Yeah, ID takes the priority. Have you heard about the box model rule in CSS?
actually familiar.
All right, no worries. So what is the difference between padding and margin?
Padding is for the inside of the element we can add the space, and the margin is outside of the element box. So it's the difference.
Okay. Can we give the minus values for padding margin?
No, sir.
Sure. Okay, we can give minus values for margin. You can learn more about that. So, have you used Flexbox? Flexbox.
Yes, sir. Flexbox I have used for the vertical deviation of our website. We can use it for divide the website in which manner. So we can divide it 12 or likewise, and we can put the components according to that flex.
Okay. So, how can we center element to the page like using Flex?
Middle or like
Yeah, to the middle. So,
the
can
six or we can put the numbers for that
yeah,
which horizontal which areas.
yeah, that's true. But I want to like let's take a particular column. So I want to center my item to that column. Like how can we do that? Like in the Flexbox, we have specific styles. Like
MD and MS.
that's for the column breaking. So have you heard about the justify content and
Yes,
the
sir.
align items? Those things.
Right justification. So we can use it's divided tree and put it in the right side and left side in the middle also.
Okay. In Flexbox, we have a lot of CSS properties. You better if you can learn more about the Flexbox.
Sure.
Have you heard about pseudo classes or pseudo elements in CSS?
Not that
No
means
worries. Okay. So, what is the universal selector?
universal selector. We can access anywhere.
Yeah. Not anywhere. Like we can. It's a universal. Like for all the elements, it will apply. So, do you know the character we are using as a universal selector?
Background for the background colors.
Uh, no, like we are using special character as the universal selector in CSS. You can learn more about that. I'm not
Sorry,
going
sir.
to
I'm not
say.
familiar
Yeah.
with that.
All right. So, what is the difference between display none and visibility hidden?
I think display none is the images did not show to the show in the UI, and the visibility and everything is I think it's hidden and we can get it by the
Not 100% correct. Yeah, both in both scenarios we can't see the element. But there is a difference between these two.
I heard about that, sir, but I
Yeah, it's about the space, so you can learn more about that.
okay, sir. Sure.
So have you heard about the Z index?
Sorry, sir.
Z index? Z index. No.
No, sir.
So how can we make a web page responsive?
By by using the meta tag, also we can say that, and
Can you
also
come again? Meta text.
meta tags, visual codes.
In CSS, like for example, I need to display another design in the mobile version, but some other design in a desktop version. So we have something special in CSS. We can achieve this responsiveness. Have you heard about media queries? Yeah, no worries. So I'll jump into JavaScript part. So first, are you familiar with JavaScript?
Yes, sir. Actually, I worked in React and TypeScript, so the basic thing is JavaScript. So I
Okay, okay. Yeah.
familiar with the
So
JavaScript.
what are the data types available in JavaScript?
Var, sorry, data types,
Data types, yeah.
the strings and numbers, integer, date, and
Yeah.
decimal.
You have to learn more about that. So partially correct. So can you explain the difference between var, let, and const?
Yes, sir. The var is for it's a global variable. We can use without the blocks also. But when we declaring within a function, we have to use it in the function. And the const is we can't change the variable values.
Okay. So have you heard about hoisting concept?
Sorry, sir.
Hoisting concept?
Yes, sir. Hosting concept is it's moved to the top. The declaration is in the top, and the initialization is down to the declaration.
Okay. So does var support for this hoisting?
Var is not supported, but it's giving undefined
Hmm. What about let?
answers. But let and const also it's not supporting, but it's reference error. Make a reference error.
Yeah, yeah, kind of correct. You know up to some level, but you can learn more about the wallet. So this scope changes as well, as you mentioned, the block scope, global scope. So what about const? So why it's different from let?
Let we can change the value of that thing, but const is not supported to change the value variable.
So you are saying like if we initialize a variable with let, like we can redeclare it or like change it. Okay. There are some restrictions as well. You can learn more about that. Uh, so when it comes to hoisting, do you think that functions are also hoisting?
No, sir. Hosting functions are not supported to hosting because we can declare it before or after.
Yeah, I think you confused a bit. So actually, functions are hoisted. The regular functions they are hoisted. So the arrow functions they are not hoisted. So you can learn more about that later.
Sure, sir.
Uh, can you tell me the difference between double equal and triple equal?
For the double equal, it's only consider the value and not the type. And it's triple equal, it's fully considered about the value and also the type.
Correct. Yeah. What is callback function?
Callback function is like within a function, it's called another function. I think it's used for asynchronous, asymmetric functions. Like
Yeah,
it's very for
synchronous. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what do you know about asynchronous functions?
like when we send a URL request, API request,
Mhm.
uh, it's wait for the return response, and by the time the next thing are working without blockage.
So, like JavaScript is JavaScript single threaded or multi threaded? Like,
I'm not familiar with that, sir, but I think it's a multi.
no, it's single threaded.
Oh, sorry.
So with asynchronous functions only they are achieving this asynchronous the multi-threaded features. So do you know how we achieve these asynchronous? Like what are the keywords we are using to achieve these asynchronous features in JavaScript?
Wait and is
Yeah, yeah, async and await. Yeah, true. Okay. So have you used map function in JavaScript?
uh, in JavaScript. I don't use
If you have
I,
worked with React, you
yeah, I
definitely should
used
work with.
it, but I'm not familiar with.
Okay, okay. Have you worked with for each?
Yes, sir.
So what did this?
For each is it's access all the element in the array one by one
Mhm. Okay.
by we can check.
Yeah, map is also similar to for each, but there is a big difference. So map returns an array, but for each does not return anything. So you can learn more about that as well. Uh, so how do we handle errors in JavaScript?
Yes, we can use catch, try catch.
Yeah. So do you know about the event loop in JavaScript?
Even if I'm not.
No worries. Yeah, yeah, you can learn more. So suppose there is an array. So how can I add the new element to that array?
So for that, we can access the element by the index. So we
Yeah.
can add by the int, or like if you want to add the element in the back at the last, so you can access the element index, and directly we can access it, update it. If we want to add an element in the center, we have to shift all the elements to the right, and then we have to add the
Okay, but we have some inbuilt methods to add delete items from an array. So do you familiar with this inbuilt method? I'm sure you heard about these things. The pop method, push method.
yes, sir. Actually, with the pop, we can delete the last element. Push, we can put a new element, and also the peak, we can see the elements,
Yeah, 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 true.
and the top, we can see that, and pop, we can delete that, the
Yeah.
last element.
There are other methods as well, like shift, unshift. So we can use deal with the beginning of the array. Poop and pop is dealing with the last element of the array. So you can get familiar with these things later. Uh, all right, then we can jump into React. Why React is so popular? Like, what is the advantages we can have if we use React?
React is a library file, so it's supported for other library files also. So we can achieve the things with the library files, and it's easy to work, and by the virtual DOM, it's very lightweighted, and only changing the necessary changes. so it's better to compare with the JavaScript. So,
Okay, so you
and
mentioned, yeah, yeah, go ahead.
we can reduce the code lines by React uh, with welding in the JavaScript.
Okay, okay. So you mentioned about the virtual DOM. So can you explain it?
Actually, virtual DOM is like a virtual picture of the real DOM, and it's if we change anything in the code, first it's checked with the virtual DOM, and if anything change, only the changes will change in the real DOM.
True. Yeah. Okay. Then can you explain the difference between state and props?
States is unmutable we can change the elements by the child elements, but in the props we cannot change that. We can read and use it only.
Okay. So how we manage the state, like this state, let's say the state variables in inside a component, like what is the key? Do you know any like ways we can access this state, update this state and all?
I think use states.
Correct. Yeah. Have you used statehood?
uh, yes, I used it, but I'm not that much familiar with
Okay. So any other hooks you have used in your projects?
use effects and
So what do you think it does by the use effect hook?
if one thing happened, we can with the effect we can do that. Likewise things are used.
So how do we identify, like you said, like something happens, we can do something. So like how do you know, like so that happens or not? Maybe some other thing happened, like you know. So in use effect hook, we have some specific thing to, I mean, ask uh, from the browser to reload this or rerun this thing. So do you know, like, so what is the mechanism they are using there?
By the response when we requesting for by a URL, then the responses come, and then we can say that use this likewise.
Not really. Like I'm asking. So in use bit, we have some specific, the keywords. And, I mean, there is a setup for that use bit, right? So have you seen the dependency array of the use effect? Like we are passing a dependency array.
I'm not
Not familiar. Okay, okay, no worries. Sure. So what is JSX?
JSS exists like with the JavaScript and the XML thing, and it's when we using in the React, we factor uh, number of elements within that, so we can say like with empty tags or
Okay,
like
so you are writing HTML inside JavaScript, right?
yes.
So, do you think that browser will understand this language or this coding pattern?
So we have to use the curly braces to do the JavaScript things and declaring variables or handle with variables.
Okay, in the return method, you are using this JS6, right? So, do you think that the browser understand this JS6 part?
Yes.
But really, like we are converting this JavaScript XML to JavaScript before entering in the browser. So there's a transpiler called Babel. You might heard it. So
Yes.
Babel,
Actually,
yeah, we are
use
using
the
it as a transpiler. So this will convert to the JavaScript before entering in the actual the browser. Right? Okay. So, like, can we pass data from parent components to children components in React?
Yes.
Don't get confused. Like, can we pass data from parent components to child components?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How?
By
Yeah, you said it already. You can.
yeah, I think it's like
Yeah. So,
senses.
yeah. So, do you think we can pass data from children component to parent component?
In this state, we can.
No, state is not used to that. Yeah, we can do that. You might you can search about it later. So that's possible. Yeah. Uh, okay. So have you worked with use memo hook or use callback hook?
Yes.
Okay, okay, no worries. So, all right. How do you handle the API calls in, let's say, you worked on a React project? How did you handle these API calls? Those parts.
By when we handle the URLs and we get the response from that, and we can store the data by the response, and by that we can use the response data.
Did you use any external libraries to handle these API calls, or you used the default fetch methods?
Sorry, I forgot that.
Okay, okay. Have you used Axios in your project?
Axios is
Yeah, I think you need to look into that more. Okay, so let's say I have a web application. So you have to suggest me some ways to improve the performance of that web application. So I can check it from my end. So can you suggest some ways?
for that. We can use the lazy loading thing. That, we can use it for when we need only we can choose the things. And other things are we choose the correct data structures to minimize the things. And next is like
I think I lost you. You can hear me still, right?
yes, sir.
Okay, okay, cool. Yeah. So I'll. When it comes to the storages, can you tell me the difference between local storage and the session storage?
Local storage is stored in our ROM and in our local devices, and it's we have to delete it manually. But the session is when the session end, when we close the tab, the details will be deleted.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the difference.
true. Okay. So what do you know the GitHub Git commands?
Yes, sir.
What commands you have used in your project?
For initializing init for use, and add files to add all the file to the zip component, and push pull and merge, and so we check the checkouts.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah, cool. So I think with that we can complete the theory-based questions now.